Super Junior actually debuted as a temporary 5-year project group, but they survived every challenges, carving the path K-pop itself would follow. And today, as they embrace their journey, the global K-pop stage welcomes them back. This is Super Junior. In K-pop, 5 years is an entire era itself. Most early idol groups never even reached that milestone. The industry was designed for fast cycles debut, peak, fade, replace. Super Junior was supposed to be the same. When they debuted on the 6th of November 2005, the name itself carried an expiration date, Super Junior 05. The 05 was a countdown. SM Entertainment's rotational concept meant members could be cycled in and out based on performance, popularity, metrics. No one could predict. 12 young men took the stage that day. Each brought different strengths, from vocals, dance, and rap. But the public didn't know what to make of them. 12 members felt excessive. The rotation concept felt gimmicky. Their debut single, Twins, Knockout, dropped the same day. The performance was sharp and synchronized. But the question hung in the air, louder than the music. If the members were meant to rotate, how long would any of them stay? Behind the performances was something the audience couldn't see. The weight of wanting it more than anything.
저는 연습생 기간이 5년이었었고 누구보다도 데뷔를 하고 싶었었고 누구보다도 성공하고 싶었었고 그러다 보니까 TV에 많이 나오면 사람들이 날 봤을 때 저 친구는 성공한 친구야 라고 생각할 것 같았어요. 그래서 무조건 저한테는 일.
They had trained for years. All that time carrying the same hope. That debut would mean arrival. That visibility would mean success. That the uncertainty would finally end. The 25th of May, 2006, Kyu-yoon joins as the 13th member. But the real game changer wasn't just the addition of a new face. It was what SM announced along with it. The rotational concept was dead. Super Junior 05 became simply Super Junior. Permanent. There was no big press conference explaining why the experiment had succeeded or failed. The change happened quietly, as if SM realized that instability wasn't a sustainable model. That groups need foundations, and fans need something solid to hold on to. Kyu-yoon's arrival marked the moment the group stopped being a test. He was the youngest, still raw, learning choreography on shortened timelines. But his vocal tone filled a gap they didn't know existed. And with 13 locked in, the members could finally exhale. But permanence brought a new kind of pressure. When Super Junior prepared their second album, in 2007, SM considered adding even more members. Henry was meant to join the main lineup. The plan was to keep expanding, keep rotating, keep the concept fluid.
2집 앨범 돈돈 때 그 헨리가 이제 저희 새 멤버로 들어오려고 했던 상황이었었는데 팬들이 저희 사무실 앞에 모여서 슈퍼주니어 도대체 몇 명이냐 슈즈란 멤버의 인원을 정해달라고 하면서
But the main group's 13 members were set. In an industry where most idol groups lasted 2 to 3 years before disbanding, Super Junior had just committed to something longer. When You released on the 6th of June 2006, something changed. The song was softer than their debut, emotional, built around harmonies instead of punch. The music video showed them in clean suits, choreography that emphasized unity over individual flash. The Korean public responded. It charted well, won music show awards, establishing that Super Junior wasn't just a gimmick group. They could sing, perform, and adapt. The 20th of September, 2007, brought Don't. with completely different energy. Traditional Korean instruments blended with electronic beats. The choreography was aggressive, but the industry still had limitations they couldn't control.
그 당시에는 다인원을 소화할 수 있는 방송국의 능력이 안 됐었거든요. 그러니까 최대 방송국의 마이크 개수가 7개까지인가 그랬었어요. 그래서 마이크를 못 받는 멤버들도 참 많았었고요. 또 신동 같은 경우에는 마이크를 한 2년 뒤인가 3년 뒤에 받았어요.
Korean music shows weren't equipped for 13 members. Studios had 7 microphones, maybe 8. Some members performed without mics for years. Then came the 12th of March 2009. Sorry, Sorry. Instantly recognizable. The beat was repetitive, infectious, designed to be stuck in your brain and refuse to leave. The choreography looked effortless. A sidestep, hand movements, formations that required precision timing across 13 members. Number 1 in South Korea, it spread across Taiwan, China, Thailand, and Vietnam. YouTube views climbed into the millions when K-pop's global footprint was still new. The song became a phenomenon, covered by other idols and danced by fans who didn't speak Korean but knew every beat. This was the moment Super Junior stopped being a domestic success and became something bigger. And it wasn't just the song, it was everything they had been building around it. The subunits started forming. Super Junior KRY focused on ballads, showcasing the vocal line. Super Junior T did comedy-driven concepts. And then there was Super Junior M. On the 8th of April 2008, Super Junior M debuts in China, a localized unit designed specifically for the Chinese market. They relocated to China for extended periods. They released songs in Mandarin, navigated a market that operated differently from South Korea's idol system. The album Me dropped in 2008 and it worked. Super Junior M charted, sold, built a fan base distinct from Korean elves but just as dedicated. But adaptation had its own costs. On the 21st of December 2009, Han Gang filed a lawsuit against SM Entertainment. The reasons were complex. A contract that spanned 13 years and was deemed unilaterally disadvantageous, health concerns after being denied sick days, and alleged discrimination regarding opportunities compared to Korean members. The lawsuit dragged on. The group continued without him, but his absence created a fracture impossible to ignore. Han Gang was one of the original 12. His departure was the first major crack in the permanence SM promised when they dropped the rotational concept. Still, Super Junior M had to continue. The early Super Show tours started during this period. Super Show 1 launched in 2008, followed by Super Show 2 in 2009. These were arena-level productions. Multiple costume changes, live bands, solo stages, and unit performances. They toured across Asia, Seoul, Bangkok, Shanghai, Taipei. Each city sold out. Each show proved the same thing. There was hunger for K-pop concerts beyond music show performances and fan meetings. Super Junior was building infrastructure. They didn't know it yet, but they were setting the standard every K-pop tour would be measured against. On the 19th of April 2007, a devastating car accident occurred on the way back from a radio show recording. Lee-Teuk required over 150 stitches, while Kyuyun was in critical condition, with a fractured hip and broken ribs that punctured his lung. Doctors initially gave him only a 20% chance of survival. He returned to the group after months in the hospital, but the accident lingered, not in headlines, but in the way the members carried it. The awareness that everything can shatter in a single moment. The early 2010s brought more fractures. Kang In's drunk driving incident in 2009, another in 2016, multiple assault allegations. Each one chipped away at his public image, created tension within the group, forced conversations about accountability and reputation. Ki-boom quietly distanced himself. He didn't officially leave, but his participation faded. By 2015, he was effectively inactive. No drama, no announcement, just absence. Sungmin's marriage in 2014 became controversial in ways that shouldn't make sense. The backlash was severe enough that Sungmin stepped back from group activities, not permanently, but enough to fracture the lineup further. And then there was military service. The members rotated in and out of service over an 8-year cycle. While some served, others released subunit music, did solo activities, kept the name visible. The Korean music market was shifting during this period. Second-generation K-pop groups gave way to third-generation acts. EXO debuted in 2012 and exploded. BTS debuted in 2013 and started building momentum. The sound was changing, production getting sleeker, global ambitions getting louder. Super Junior was no longer the breakthrough story. They were the established act, the veterans, the group that had been around long enough to be taken for granted, but they adapted. The Supershow tours didn't stop. Supershow 3 in 2010, Supershow 4 in 2011, Supershow 5 in 2013, Supershow 6 in 2014. Each tour stretched longer, covered more cities, pushed into markets K-pop hadn't fully penetrated yet. They performed in Paris, Sao Paulo, Los Angeles. Full-scale productions. The shows were long. Solo stages where members showcased individual skills. Unit performances highlighting different dynamics. Other groups started measuring their concerts against Supershow. The multi-unit structure, the solo spotlights, the encore length. Billboard took notice. International media started covering K-pop concerts, not as novelties, but as legitimate global events. Super Junior wasn't the only group touring internationally during this period, but they were among the first to prove it could be sustained year after year. And they were doing it while rotating members through military service, while dealing with lineup changes, while navigating scandals and public scrutiny. The discipline required to maintain this was invisible to audiences, but it was there. In rehearsals, in coordination across time zones, and in the willingness to keep showing up, keep performing, and keep building something larger than any individual era. The Super Show tours were proof that K-pop could travel, could scale, could become a global touring system instead of a regional phenomenon. When Devil was released on the 16th of July 2015, the sound was darker than anything Super Junior had done. It featured trap-influenced production, distorted vocals, and a music video leaning heavily into gothic imagery. It was a tonal shift. They were exploring what a veteran group could do when they stopped worrying about staying young. The 6th of November 2017 brought play, marking the group's return after most members completed military service. The sound was playful, lighter, nostalgic, in a way that didn't feel forced. The choreography was relaxed, leaning into experience and swagger. The 12th of April 2018's Replay continued the pattern. Steady releases. No hiatuses longer than necessary. No pressure to reclaim chart dominance. The strategy during this era was quiet but clear. Consistency over reinvention. While the K-pop industry accelerated, with faster comeback cycles, more elaborate concepts, groups debuting and disbanding within 2 years, Super Junior maintained their own pace. They released music when it made sense. They toured when the lineup allowed it. Their subunits thrived during this period. Super Junior D and E became one of K-pop's most successful subunits, releasing multiple albums, touring independently, proving smaller configurations could sustain careers. This is how you survive past your commercial peak. Not by chasing what's current, but by building something durable enough to outlast it. When The Renaissance released on the 16th of March 2021, it had been years since a full group comeback with this many members active. They weren't pretending to be the group they were in 2009. The sound was mature, the visuals were polished, and the choreography was adapted for bodies that had been doing this for 15 years. There was no pretense of competing with fourth-generation groups on raw energy or youth. The competition was different now. It was about legacy and quality control. The Road series, including subsequent releases like The Road Winter for Spring and the full album The Road, continued the era. They didn't stage a dramatic comeback because they never truly left. It was a continuation of their story. Supershow 9 launched in 2022. The production was massive, with larger stages, more elaborate sets, the kind of budget that comes with being a legacy act. The shows sold out, not just because of nostalgia, but because Super Junior was still a relevant and highly sought-after live act. In June 2024, Super Junior launched Supershow Spin-Off, Halftime, a concept inspired by alternate reality storytelling and the Super Bowl halftime show. Unlike their regular tours, the setlist featured fan-favorite songs spanning their entire discography, rather than focusing on their latest release. Then came 2025, their 20th anniversary year. On the 8th of July 2025, Super Junior released Super Junior 25, their 12th full-length album. Express Mode, an up-tempo club pop track, served as the title track. The release was timed perfectly with the announcement of Super Show 10, their 20th anniversary world tour. Super Show 10 kicked off at Seoul's KSPO Dome on the 22nd of August 2025. The opening night was broadcast live to cinemas worldwide. By the 13th of September 2025, at the Jakarta stop, Super Junior performed their 200th headlining concert, a milestone no K-pop group had reached before. The tour was scheduled to run through March 2026, covering 16 cities across multiple continents. The transformation was complete. They were no longer idols. They were senior artists. Their name carried weight in the industry, respect from junior groups, and recognition from the public. A legacy that didn't need defending. What does 20 years in K-pop mean? The standard idol contract is 7 years, and most groups disband when it expires. Even successful groups struggle to maintain relevance past a decade. Super Junior has been active for 2 decades. They're still here, still releasing music, still touring, showing up. The K-pop system is built for youth, for constant renewal. Super Junior is proof that longevity is possible anyway. They don't look the same as they did in 2005. The lineup has changed. The sound has evolved. The industry built after them is unrecognizable. Super Junior didn't invent K-pop, but they shaped what it became.
같은 것들이 동아시아 쪽에서 아주 폭발적인 인기를 얻었던 것으로 이야기가 많이 되고 있는데
그 당시에는 뭐 K-팝이란 말도 잘 안 썼던 것 같기도 한데 이걸 확산하는 데는 슈퍼주니어가 굉장히 큰 공을 세우지 않았나 싶네요. 그러니까 사실 이 K-팝이 지금 여기까지 오는 데는 여러 가지 단계가 있었지만은 1차적으로는 한국 밖으로 나가는 게 데미안으로 얘기하면 알을 깨고 나가는 거였을 텐데 깨고 나가면 일단 바로 만나는 건 동아시아니까 그 동아시아까지 확장시킨 데는 당연히 슈퍼주니어가 굉장히 큰 역할을 했고 부인할 수 없죠.
Every innovation they tested became standard practice for the groups that followed. When EXO debuted with separate Korean and Chinese units, the groundwork was already laid. When BTS built a global touring empire, the infrastructure existed. When NCT launched with rotating units and city-based concepts, someone had already proven it could work. Super Junior carved the path. The industry walked it. The global K-pop system wasn't built overnight. For 20 years, Super Junior stood at the front of that evolution, carving a path that the industry would eventually walk. 20 years later, they're still performing, still releasing music, still proving that groups can last if they're willing to adapt without erasing what made them matter in the first place. Super Junior dared to be bold, will you?